Very good. So yeah, I'm Pedro. I'm from Build38, and I'm going to talk about a topic that may be a bit boring for you. I'm going to talk about software and software security. Because during lunch I had conversation with some of you, and seems that hardware is these days very entertaining because of all the shortage on chips and supply chain, and seems that it's really exciting in that space. And it's actually now, no jokes anymore, but seriously, it's something that we've been discussing for some time together with Coppernic, how we can amplify hardware and extend the lifetime of hardware based on software security. So yeah, without further ado, I will move on and start talking about us and Build38. We are in the mobile space, mainly. We do mobile software security, mobile application security. So our customers generally have the setup that you can see here. So basically some core data on the background. They have some processing, presentation of the information. This core data can be identities, can be records, healthcare records, whatever that they are presenting to the users, or even collecting from the users, like when you enroll in an identity process, and this has to be stored in the backend. So you generally have this very secure data with some systems on the background, like SIEMs, like fraud management and stuff like that. Then you have the front end that is presenting the information, and then you have a number of clients that are connecting to that information and to some extent processing that information. These clients can be a regular iOS phone and an iPhone. It can be an Android phone. It can be a Coppernic device. It can be a web server that is connecting there to process that information. So you can have different scenarios where you have to present and interact with this information and the user or the consumer of the information. The challenge is that for our customers and for generally service providers, their perimeter where they have control ends up in the second part, right? So you cannot put generally something that covers the security in the pocket of a citizen, of a user, into some extent even an independent vendor, someone that is using a tablet to process some information that is connected to a secure process. So that's the big challenge. So how you protect the information, the processing, the visualization of this data when it's in the pocket of someone that you don't control. That's a clear scenario of not trust. And because of this scenario of not trust, there are several type of threats that may happen. I'm not going to do into detail of all of this, but we are thinking about hooking. So basically someone connecting a phone into a computer, trying to do a debugging or reverse engineering the application to understand how the application works, how is it collecting the data from the smart card, how is it sending it to the backend server, and then using that information to instrumentalize an attack, a denial of service attack, a brute force attack, or any kind of attack on the backend. Same with API keys. So as you know, these services that offer the information to the consumer is going to be a web server with a web API interface, and you need a key to access to this web API. If these keys are not stored securely in the client side, in the phone, in the device that is accessing that information, you are in deep troubles. So that's basically the challenge that we solve. When you are outside of your perimeter, when you are in a no trust area or low trust area, how you are able to protect that. So at Build38, our solution is based in very standardized principles in cybersecurity that start with the hardening. So we make sure that the application is stored information in a space that is basically protected, that you cannot extract keys, that you cannot extract the certificates or modify the certificates. So that's the hardening part. Then, of course, we prevent issues as well. That's the next step in this approach, that basically trying to reduce the number of vulnerabilities that could affect the security. And if you think about mobile devices, vulnerabilities can be at the OS level. So you can have a device that has not received software updates from the vendor since 6 years ago or 4 years ago, and you can imagine that in that device there are going to be a lot of vulnerabilities, like an outdated TLS library that does the communication to the server, some certificates that have been compromised, the root certificate, so can be used for a man-in-the-middle attack. So all these we prevent using or depending as less as possible from the underlying device. So when you have a mobile application protected by Build38, we make sure that all the communication to the backend, all the keys that are necessary to do that, all the certificates that encrypt and secure this information are protected independently of the device. But then that's something that some of our competitors do, and what we do different is the next 3 steps. First, we detect when issues happen. So if someone is connecting the device to a computer and starts doing a debugging session, we are able to detect that, and then we are going to report it, because we have a service that monitors these applications in real time. So when you have 1,000 Coppernic devices with an application protected with Build38, we will know whether someone is trying to do something fishy with those devices and these applications. Then the next step is you detected that something is going wrong, we help you respond to it. We are able to block that application, that service from working. We are even able to wipe the information that is stored there. So if you have very sensitive information in a device, let's say a list of the most wanted people by the FBI in a device, and you see that someone is trying to extract this information, we can basically wipe and delete all the information on that device. And it's something that we don't do in a device management level, so there are no dependencies with the device. We do it at the application level. So the application that you install in this device is what takes care of everything that is in there. And the last one, and that's the holy grail in cybersecurity, is the prediction. So are we able to predict that an attack is going to happen even without, before it happens? That's what it's our key differentiator. So we are basically collecting information from thousands of devices, different devices, models around the world. We are consolidating that information, and we see that someone is trying to do this specific attack in this particular country in Asia. So we are able to, from Build38, release a new version of our solution, update if we have to do any update on the backend side. So when this type of attack reaches our customers in Europe, they are already protected. So they become more difficult targets for the attackers. So basically, it's the competitors of our customers that are suffering these attacks. And this is the key element here. Cybersecurity and security in general has become less protecting, like building taller walls, and it's become more intelligence. Is knowing what's happening to your neighbor, and then be ready when they come to you and try to hack you. The process is very simple. I can show you. I'm not a developer, so I cannot do it live. But I have a video that shows that in 3 minutes you can have an Android application or an iOS application and a standard one, and add our component, our module, our SDK, and make it secure. That's what you see on the step 1. That basically you take the application, you integrate our SDK, and then you can distribute it among your devices. You can do it through the App Store or the Play Store, or you can do it physically on the devices. You install the applications. And the moment that the application is open and the user is trying to register or connecting to the service, the first thing that does is connecting to our server that will personalize that application. So from that moment on, the application that is installed in my device and his device is going to be different. Even if I compromise, or I'm an attacker, and I compromise my application, extract the keys, those keys are not going to be valid to do a massive attack among all the devices, because they are different. That's what happened in step 3, the personalization step. And then, as I mentioned, we go for monitoring. So we collect cybersecurity relevant data continuously of this device, of these devices that are installed in the field, and we use that for analyzing and predicting whether issues are happening, and react as well. As I said, blocking or wiping the information that are installed in a particular application. Okay? So that's a little bit in terms of process and in abstract, but I want to give you a particular example or a particular couple of examples on how it works and why customers are working with us. And it's basically in the identity space. We have two examples from Germany. One is Verimi, that is a private company, provider of digital identity, single sign-ons. They have a mobile wallet that is installed in the phone of the user, and then you use that for logging in Deutsche Bank or buying new insurance in Allianz or any kind of service that requires. So meeting requirements of KYC, of single sign-on, and authentication. And the other one is Bundesdruckerei, that, as you probably know, is a government-owned enterprise that is responsible for issuing the passports in Germany. So now, because of the EU mandate, they are moving into providing a mobile identity to all the citizens in Germany. And here's where the beauty of our solution comes, because if you want to provide a mobile identity and do a secure wallet in the latest iPhone or in the latest Samsung phone, that's relatively easy because they have the right security measures installed. They have software updates, so if there is a vulnerability, it will be updated. But that's only 15% of the, or probably a bit more, but 30% of the population in Germany. So what happens with the 70% remaining? And here's where what we do and the solution that we provide levels up the security in a way that independently of the device, if the device is compromised, if the device is outdated, if the device has some vulnerabilities, we make sure that the application is secure. And we do that without increasing the complexity of developing the application. So if you're a developer and you want your application to be running on as many devices as possible, you could use our solution, implement it in a very straightforward way, and then be able to deploy everywhere without having to worry about security. So that's a very important step that we are going through because, of course, as you know, we are talking here about eIDAS regulations. So we are talking to BSI, to the Federal Security Agency, Information Security Agency in Germany. They are looking into our solution, evaluating, and giving us the feedback that we are able to support eIDAS substantial, and we are now working for eIDAS high with our solution across all the devices out there. So that's a good token of indication that our solution is very secure, but as well brings this versatility, this possibility to install on any device and keep it secure. I already mentioned this briefly, but basically our solution comes with two elements. So on the left-hand side, you see the part that goes in the application. So you need to integrate this into the application. It takes 3 minutes, as I mentioned, and I can show you. And then we have on the right-hand side, the monitoring and the analysis and the tracking of the cybersecurity status of any device there. And again, what that achieves is that even in a vulnerable device, in a device that the certificates are outdated or there is a root certificate that has been compromised like 2 years ago and never was updated, even in those devices, the application, the data of the user, the data of the service provider is protected. And here's where we found as well an interesting idea with these issues with the hardware supply chain shortages and so on, is can you increase the life cycle or the lifetime of a device if you can ensure that the application level is secure, that the data is secure, that the data cannot be compromised, even if you have some vulnerabilities at the hardware level or the OS level? And we are convinced that, yes, you can do that, because at the moment we are securing devices that are 6 years old, 7 years old, that don't receive software updates from their manufacturer since a couple of years back. And that's working, and we can ensure that our customers are not suffering fraud. And going back to this idea of the developer perspective, I'm a developer. I'm developing an application for identification. And of course, I don't want to increase the complexity of my development if I have to support more devices. And that's something that I can tell you is quite difficult and quite complicated. So what we've achieved is, we call it Silicon Vault, is a mechanism that the developer just says, I want to store this information securely at the SDK level. And we take care of analyzing in which device is this application installed. So when you install the application there, we are making sure that if there is hardware-backed storage, so some secure elements, some TEE, we will use that. And if there is none, we will use a software-based solution like white box cryptography or any other mechanism in order to store that information. And that's something that we will manage dynamically, because it's not only, you know, having white box cryptography, but it's how frequently you renew the keys, the certificates, in order to keep it protected and secure. Because the longer that the information is there, the more likely that a hacker can have time enough to reverse engineer or to extract things. So what we provide is this abstraction of the complexity of the devices base for the developer, making sure that it's always secure and always meeting the requirements. And how secure? I mean, I already mentioned about BSI, but we've gone through, since we started the company, through several certifications, pen testing with customers, and this is just a highlight to show you. But we have as well PCI, SIPO compliance. We've been as well used for solutions like acceptance of mobile payments by Visa and MasterCard in Android devices. And as I mentioned, now we are with BSI into the identity space, getting the validation and the confirmation that our solution is meeting their requirements. Good. Talking a little bit about us and the company and the references, just to give you some background. So we are a 3-year-old startup. We founded the company as a spin-off of Giesecke & Devrient, G&D. That is a player in the smart card world, in the space of providing solutions to banks and telcos and central banks as well with the banknote printing. So we started the company 3 years ago with a founder team that was basically having control of the company. We raised an investment round, so we have now 3 investors on board. That basically makes us totally independent with a very lean and flexible setup. Very fast to develop, to provide solutions to the market. That is of essence in the mobile space, because things don't take 5 years, but basically in 6 months, things are changing. With operations in Europe and Asia, customers in 3 continents, Asia, Europe, and Africa as well. And yeah, with several awards and certifications that show that we have a solution of value. We have a solution that can simplify the way that you bring mobile services to the market. And in terms of a scale, we can protect solutions that have 100 users, and at the same time we can have customers like the one that is obfuscated, that is a large retailer in China that has 200 million of users of the solution. So that's just to show the scale. We are backed by financial investors that are really giving us the stability to continue forward, and really excited to be here today, be working with Coppernic. And now if you have questions, you can just shoot, or I will be at the table in 30 minutes waiting for you. Thank you. Merci.